Communication is a very important part of leadership, and I don't think we have to expand on this. It is a given. Now let's look at the difference between a perspective, truth, an opinion, and a fact. Very interesting, because each of these have a specific value to our communication ability, to ability to communicate our vision, to ability to communicate ideas, feedback, suggestions, recommendations, whatever it is that we communicate when we are exercising leadership. Even when we communicate with ourselves, which is step number 1 of leadership, is developing our communication with ourselves, with our source, and with others. Very simple. And in my book, The Sharpest Tool to Wealth, How Your Words Create Your World, I specifically talk about the importance of discovering how do we talk to ourselves, to God, how do we talk to others, and being aware of the opinions that we have about ourselves, the opinions that we have about others, which form the mindset sometimes, and how we direct our speaking, our language, our actions, our thoughts, our feelings. All of this, it's clarified, or it was clarified for me when I looked at each of the meaning and the concepts of what is an opinion, what is a fact, what is a perspective, and what is truth. And when I talk about truth, I'm going to talk about the difference between truth with a small t and truth with a large. Let's begin. Very simple. What's an opinion? An opinion is a belief I have about something. Let's say someone asks me about the city I live in. What do you think of your city? I live in Calgary, Canada. What do you think of Calgary? I could say Calgary is right now one of the best cities in the world. Now, that's my opinion. So opinions are ways for us to see things. And could someone argue about my opinion? Could someone tell me that my opinion is wrong? We have conversations in our training about this topic. Can we tell someone he or she is wrong in her opinion? Think about this question. Can someone tell me that I am wrong if I think and believe that Calgary is one of the best cities in the world? They could tell me why they think differently, and that's fine. That's their opinion. They could tell me why I shouldn't think the way I think, but remember, should. So an opinion is an opinion. And when we talk in communications about respecting opinions, doesn't mean I agree with you. Nobody, absolutely no one has to believe what I believe. Opinions are just opinions. And do you know that most conflicts in communication are because we want others to have the same opinions as we do? Isn't that interesting? But all conflict is the desire to make our opinion the right opinion. Now, we could expand on this and talk about persuasion and the topic of when do we need to make our opinions stand out, and so on and so forth. But we're not talking about this in this particular video. We'll do that later. Now, let's look at a fact. Now, a fact is a fact. It's not questionable. If I say that in this room right now, the temperature is, and I look at the thermometer and it says 24 degrees, that's a fact. If someone from another country, from another culture, from another city comes and is going to argue that the temperature is not correct, I could walk with this person and show the thermometer and say, well, this is what the thermometer is saying. This is a fact. Now, some of you might say, well, I mean, the thermometer might be working, but not be working properly. That's okay. But what it shows right now, the fact is that the thermometer indicates 24 degrees. That's a fact. And in science, most of the evidence presented in science are facts. Though, believe it or not, Many facts have been questioned, like, let's go back to a very general one, which is the belief that the earth was flat instead of round. That was presented as a fact, and it was challenged, and the fact became not so much a fact. So that's why communication is so complex and so interesting and so, I was going to say complicated, but I don't want to, that's not the word that I like to use. I would say complex for sure. Now let's look at a perspective. A perspective is very similar to an opinion, because I could have a certain perspective about life. I could have the perspective that everyone is good. Let's say everyone is a good person until they show me differently. That's a perspective that I could have towards others. Or I could have the perspective that everyone was born bad unless they show me they are good. That's a perspective. That's a point of view that I have towards a certain situation. I could have the perspective that truth exists beyond what we can see with my five senses, that is larger than what I can see, that appearances are only appearances. Or I could have the perspective that what I see is what I get, or what it is. So perspective is very similar to opinion, though from my perspective, an opinion is a way of seeing something. A perspective is like a mind, is a mind view, is for some reason it appears to me a little larger. Now let's go into truth. And this is also many reasons for conflict, because what some people see as truth might for others be just an opinion or a perspective. Let's say, and in conflict resolution, we work a lot in looking at the different truths with a small t. The truth, what is your truth? What do you believe? What is true for you and what is true for you? Because what is true for one person might not be true for others. Let's say if some people might say that Canada is a very difficult country to live in because of winter. That's a true for someone. That's the truth for someone, but it might not be the truth for other people, for others. And that's what I call truth with a small t, is what I believe to be true for myself. And often some of us believe that that's an absolute truth, that what I believe to be truth is the absolute truth. Now there are truths with a big T, which are called absolute truths, which are universal truths, like the gravity, the law of gravity. That's an universal truth. Whatever goes up comes down. The law of attraction is a universal truth. We attract with our vibration, with our energy. We attract. I think people that are joyful often attract joyful people. If we are in a positive mindset, we attract more good things. If we are, it seems that when sometimes we're down, we continue to attract things that continue to put us down. Another universal truth is what we focus on expands, or what we resist insists. Many other universal truths that some people might say those are opinions or perspectives. However, they are proven and they work here in Calgary, they work in the Antarctic, in the Arctic, in Japan, in China, in Malaysia, in the North Netherlands, in the US, in Central America, everywhere. And so universal truths are those truths that work everywhere, that are eternal, that are unchangeable. And the realization that we bring into our conferences and training is that when we understand what we are expressing at a specific time, am I expressing an opinion, I'm expressing a perspective, am I expressing a fact, or I am expressing truth? And what are the other people expressing? And then from there, have a dialogue so that we can understand each other's. And when the intention of communication and leadership is to understand others before being understood, then it's very easy to create leadership that is participatory as opposed to authoritarian.